Good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you are watching this live or recording. Today is a special day. This is my very first interview. And as you can see, I have a special guest with me, Vanessa Woodburn.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And so we're going today to talk about Vanessa, what she's doing, the book she has been writing. And I just want to welcome you to this, to just let you know why I'm doing this. I'm a master certified life coach, teacher, speaker, and I help moms to kind of design a life where they can both work and also enjoy life outside work with kids and family, and navigate and live life with everything it takes. I often say perfectly imperfect, because life is not perfect and it never will be, and it's not supposed to be. And I think it's important for us to learn to relax with that. And that's why
so good just to hear you say that.
and that's what I wanted to say, because today we definitely will talk about moments in life when life is not perfect, when it's not just the small stuff, but serious setbacks in life that can seem like not just a little bump in the road, but like a wall going down. I think that's at least what I thought about when I read Vanessa's book. So before we get into the conversation, let me just share a little bit more about Vanessa. So I have her bio and I'll read it for you. So Vanessa Woodburn is a certified IIN health coach, educator, and author. Her first book, Bounce Back, Reclaim Your Life After a Concussion, was published in 2020 and is a #1 Amazon bestseller. Vanessa's passion for healing shines through in her work centered around resilience, self-compassion, and helping people bounce back after a setback, mind, body, and spirit. I love it. She weaves her years of experience in education, wellness, health, resilience, and compassion into her programs, workshops, coaching, and talks, which we're going to do today. Vanessa lives in Mississauga. I thought I said it
Close enough.
Close.
It's called Mississauga. Yeah.
Mississauga. We just talked about it and I already forgot. Okay. Mississauga, Ontario, with her husband Oliver and 3 teens. Teen mom. Yes. So welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and everybody else this morning.
Likewise. So much look forward to this conversation here. So I want to ask you first, you wrote this book, right? Bounce Back. And I want to say that I read it, and maybe I'll share a little bit later some things I took away from it. Tell us, what is your book about?
Yeah, well, I feel like you gave me a good segue a little earlier when you said that you help people through those moments in life to feel fulfilled when there's, we all have those little bumps in the road, but then also those big moments that really shake you and rattle you to your core. And so I wrote Bounce Back about 4 years after a concussion that I experienced while on a cycling vacation in Italy. I'm Canadian. I live near Toronto. My husband and I had gone on this beautiful dream vacation, and just a couple days into it, I had a really bad crash on my bike, and it led to a brain injury and some internal injury, being hospitalized in Italy for a couple weeks away from my family. So that was certainly part of the big bump in the road for me. And then a diagnosis of post-concussion syndrome, which is for most people who have a concussion, they do get better within a couple of weeks, but there's a smaller population that really can struggle for weeks and months, and some people even years with lingering symptoms. And that's where I found myself. I did, with my experience as a health coach and just determination and lots of support, I have recovered, and I wrote Bounce Back to really help people realize that they can get back on their feet and they can put back the pieces of their life together to feel empowered and that they can reclaim their life again.
I just love that. I mean, and you actually more or less answered my next question. But what I really like about this is that I think that this book and the work you do really will, first of all, give people hope that there's hope and there's a way to come back, but also like a guide how
Yeah.
to navigate it and with support. Yeah. And I want, at this point, I just want to say that I'm having a hard time see if anybody are here live. So if you are live, feel free to give us any likes or hearts or a comment, say hi, tell us where you're coming from. And if we can't see it now or respond right now on the live, we definitely will after when the recording is up. So let us know if you are here. And yeah, so what I want to share is that when I read your book, that and we talked about this, that it's like this, you had a concussion, but it can be many different kinds. We have these setbacks in life, and when I
Yes.
read it, I was brought back to the time in my life when I had a pretty bad whiplash and literally almost couldn't walk. And when I walked, I had to walk, support my head like that. When I did laundry, I had to sit down on my knees, take one sock at a time, and literally turn my entire
Wow.
body. And I thought about that when I read your book, and
Yeah.
I just like, wow, if I had you by my side during this time, I think I would feel so much more like supported and not alone with
Yeah.
the problem. Yeah.
One thing that I've realized is that my experience was with a concussion. Yours was, you said, whiplash. For other people, and it might be, it's any kind of setback that feels like that abrupt, like shock kind of experience that changes how you are living your day-to-day life, and the things that used to be easy or that you used to do effortlessly now require so much energy and effort and attention, and it's fatiguing, and it also really makes you question inside. This was my experience, at least, as like, okay, well, who am I now? I'm not able to do right now the things that I used to be able to do, the things that made me feel like me. And that's definitely part of the journey and the healing and the recovery, is learning to feel capable and confident again. And I can imagine that applies to any kind of these life events, right? That are sort of shocking and that rattle you to your core.
And I think especially, I mean, what I like about what you do and the book is that this relates a lot to when we have setbacks that are not kind of visible. We don't have like that physical
Mhm.
evidence. It's not like we not,
Broken
I mean,
arm
not
or
when this is like an invisible
yeah,
thing we carry with us. No one can see it, and it can be so easy from the outside to and I mean to judge or think,
yeah,
why is she not getting herself together and just do the things they don't. Yeah, it's not like we walk around with a big bandage and it's visible that, oh, she's suffering, there's something
yeah.
wrong here,
I think
right?
these invisible injuries, like a brain injury or anything else, like you said, that you can't see the physical evidence of on the outside,
Yeah.
can be particularly challenging too, because it was my experience that I often felt misunderstood and and minimized. How I was actually feeling on the inside was minimized when other people said, "Oh, you look fine. Like, good for you. Look at you. Off you go." And because I looked normal, but I certainly didn't
Yeah.
feel that way on the inside.
And thank you for sharing that, because that was one of the things I would like to talk to you about. Because another thing that came up in my memory when I read your book was when my son was diagnosed with, my youngest son, when he was diagnosed with Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
Because many of the things we just talk about here and you share in your book is, all that, how he expressed it to me, I could understand how frustrating it was for him.
Yes.
Like he felt like lived in his own little bubble, and no one understands me, Mom.
Yeah.
I don't feel, and even though I see myself as a pretty like aware, conscious, like attentive parent, I mean, sometimes you can say, Mom, it's like, you don't get it, you don't understand it. Like, he felt so alone.
Yeah.
So do you have any, so I mean, I think your book can is valuable for not just someone who goes through this, some crisis, some setback herself, but also if you have maybe a child, a family member, a friend, someone else who's going through it, to
Mm.
understand how to be the best support. So is that something you could
Yeah.
talk a little bit about?
I can. Yeah, I can. And I think this was something that my family and my husband and my children to a great extent as well, and even our extended family had to learn to navigate. And I think the most valuable things were when people were really good listeners for me. I didn't want them to try and fix me, right? Um, but it was really, really helpful to be able to just say how I was feeling, have a cry if I needed to. And it took me a while to get there, to be able to open up like that. That was also part of the journey. And what I had to learn was my responsibility for healing was actually letting people know how I was feeling. And then with bumps in the road and trial and error, we learned to navigate that. I just needed them to listen and maybe not always even relate it to their own experience. Like if I was having trouble with my memory, for instance, there were some people who would say, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, I forget things all the time. But it's not the same. It's not the same when you're talking to someone whose brain has been rattled like that. So yeah, it's been this big circle because I think it's taught me to be a better listener when other people share things with me, rather than jumping to say, oh, I know how you feel, I felt this and this and this. I just try to listen to where they are at and acknowledge and like witness. I see you, I hear you, this is hard, I'm sorry, I'll give you a hug. I think sometimes that's the very best thing and what we need most.
Yes, amen to that. I love that so much. And actually, I want to share with you that this morning when I was walking my dog, I ran into a mom who lives here in the complex that I'm living in the area I'm living, the community I'm living in. And she was sharing with me how one of her kids, right now, she has young kids, like is throwing these tantrums, and there's something going on. And we talked about this, and
Mhm.
the exact thing we talked about was how sometimes we just need to, as humans, to
Yeah.
learn to just kind of put ourselves to the side and just sit and be at the level with the other person and be fully present, truly just
Yes.
listen, and then know it
Mhm.
will be our time to talk,
Yeah.
but really, I don't know, that I find out that's really when we can do that. And sometimes just need to be reminded to do it, but that's when we make the best relationships
I
and help
agree.
each
Yeah.
other most. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that advice, to just listen. Yeah. When someone, and the other thing I heard that you learned from this was to set boundaries, right? And
Hmm.
express what you need.
Yeah, to those boundaries for what's okay for me and what was not okay. And to also realize that that might change from day to day, even throughout the day, that might change, right?
Yeah.
So, sort of to take a step back from that, um, I think a really important question that I had to learn, and I kind of had to give myself permission to ask this, because it wasn't something that was a practice for me, but to ask myself, like, what do I need today to feel like I'm taking those baby steps and moving forward? I was really good at asking that of the people around me. I even joke, I ask that of the dog all the time. What do you need today? Right? When I'm giving him a little snuggle in the morning. And I was used to saying that to my husband and my children. And it was when a therapist actually I was working with, she said, okay, can we turn that around? And can you ask that of yourself? And then it was the learning to listen. What do I need? Do I need to slow down? Do I need a little bit of a push today? Is today the day that I feel a little bit more motivated? Do I need um, music? Do I need to move? Do I need fresh air? What do I need? And then honoring those boundaries around that. And that's when we get into the boundaries. It's being able to hold that for myself and stand in, here's what I need today. And here's what my family needs, but also here's what I need today. And my needs are as important. Everybody's needs are important as are mine. That was a learning for me. And then being able to communicate that to other people. And sometimes if you've had an illness or a setback, in my case the concussion, it was sometimes boundaries of saying what wasn't okay. Like, someone invited me or asked me to help out in a certain way. Can you do this for me today? It's like, you know what, I'd love to help, but I can't today. I'll check in with you tomorrow. Maybe I'll be feeling better tomorrow. So that's just
I
one
love that.
example.
I love that. So we have a surprise, because a
Oh,
surprise. Yeah.
for me? No.
No. For those who listen, well, I really like this, and I know that this book can help so many. Do you want to share? I mean, I honestly encourage whoever is listening to this, who take nuggets of information to this, to get the book. And in a moment, Vanessa will share, and this is a surprise, that she actually has an offer to get a free copy of it, like a
Yes.
PDF
Yeah.
copy. Um, so I can see that both, we talked about that earlier, both like a mom who is going through these challenges herself can benefit from the book. Or in my case, I thought, if I had read this book when my son was first diagnosed, I'm sure I would take a lot of good nuggets of information
Hmm.
here. But yeah, what do you want? When you wrote the book, do you want to share, who were you thinking about when you wrote the book?
Yeah.
Who did you write it for?
Thank you for asking. Yeah. So I wrote this book, I think, specifically for people who, I call it the gap. This gap that you find when you've gone through, for me, it was going through the concussion, post-concussion syndrome. I did have doctors and specialists who were helping me and helping me feel better, and we were making progress. And it gets to the point where they start to let you go off into the world. And there is this gap where, okay, my physical symptoms may be feeling better. And from what everybody can see on the outside, things look fine, but I am not fine. I felt like I was in this place of feeling very lost, feeling very lonely. I didn't know, would I ever feel like myself again? Would I ever be able to feel capable and confident to really like move forward in the world and do the things I wanted to do and be able to try new things again? So I wrote this book for people who find themselves in that gap and are looking for someone to kind of take their hand and say, okay, I see you, I hear you, I know how to move away from this place, and to be able to walk away from it on your standing solidly on your own 2 feet. And the book is really meant to be like the tracks for people to follow to do that.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's share where the
Yeah.
listeners can go and find your book.
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is vanessawoodburn.ca. make note of the .ca. And I have a free digital download, so a PDF copy of the book available there for you. And you can download it for your tablet or print it out, whatever you like. So it's vanessawoodburn.ca.
I love it. And we will put that link in wherever we
Yeah, good
share the
idea.
recording of this.
Yeah,
We'll put it
in
in
the
the
comments.
comments, so it's easy for people to go and find it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I just want to end, before we end here, I want to ask you one question. So I
Yes.
talk about mothers feeling fulfilled in their life. So do you have, and I'm sorry, I didn't prepare you to ask this, but
That's okay.
I'm curious to know. So when you think about a fulfilled mom, what do you think about?
For me, that means a mom who feels, I'll say the word connected to herself and what's on the inside, and connected to the people around her, and even connected to a broader community. That to me, when I'm able to feel that connection and listen to that connection, it leads me to a fulfillment of and moving towards a purpose of knowing how I can put myself out there, right? And how I can serve myself and the people around me. So that's what I would say. It's growing and nurturing and nourishing and figuring out what you need to do to feel connected to yourself and the people around you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for
Oh, it's my
sharing that.
pleasure, my
Thank you
honor,
so much.
Charlotte. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Vanessa. I know we will talk much more, and we could
Yes.
talk much
Yeah.
more.
I think we're kindred spirits.
I'm so grateful for having met you.
Yeah, me
And
too.
so before I stop the recording here, before we jump off, I just want to share with everybody that this was my very first interview, and I'm intending to have many more. So thank you, Vanessa, for being the first one here.
My
And
pleasure.
my plan is to have conversation about everything that we as mothers are dealing with and sometimes wants to know more about when we want to have a fulfilled life, when we want to create a life where we kind of live it all, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And there can be money, career, business, kids, health, relationships. So look out for more. I will share when more content is coming up. But for now, I want to, with Vanessa, wish everybody an amazing day or night, whenever you are
Wherever you
watching.
are. Yeah.
And thanks for being here, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.